Hello and welcome to another AIC video. So this should be a fairly quick video for us. I was asked this a while ago and I'm finally getting a chance to get to it. But I was asked how to upgrade this HP notebook. This applies to a lot of different laptops, but this is, I'll read the model number because it's long, 14-FQ0013DX. So this is a laptop I've reviewed recently, and it seems to be a fairly popular laptop right now. And I went and when I showed the initial hardware, I didn't show actually opening it up. So let's go ahead and do that. You need a couple of things. If you're doing any upgrades, you want whatever you're upgrading, obviously already. You need an appropriate screwdriver. In this case, a Phillips head will get me everything I need. And I use some sort of prying device. So this is an old Visa gift card I got. I think it was like a $50 gift card for buying like a motherboard or something. So I used it forever ago and it sat in my drawer and has been my prying device since. A lot of people use guitar picks, you can get spudgers, whatever. This was free and I already had it and it's worked great for literally years. And so I keep using it. Now on this particular laptop, you have a couple of screws, or I should say more than a couple of screws, covered up by these rubber feet. And I just use my fingernail, if I can get it under there, to pry them up. This is a place where you could also use the spudger. I would not use anything metal because metal is harder than the plastic and will scratch the plastic up pretty good, and you could also rip the rubber feet. So that's why I personally use my fingernails, because I'm very unlikely to damage anything before I damage my fingernail. So, all right, now this laptop actually has three sizes of screws. These big ones in the back and front row, and along the very edge is another size, and then these two are another size. So I make sure I get all the screws of similar size together. I try to put them in kind of the row that I found them. And actually I take that back. That's it. So this is one size, this is another size, and this is going to be the big size again. That's why I just kind of put it in the order I found it in, because it makes it easier. Or I try to take a picture of where they came from. I hate that they use different size screws for the bottom, but it is what it is. So it looks like, yeah, I'm just going to have to keep these straight. And then the two along the front here. Now you will need to be careful when doing this, and that's true again with any laptop, because they are just made out of plastic or aluminum, whatever materials, and it's not super strong, it's not super durable, and they're not meant to be opened and closed a bunch. So at this point, what I do, I've turned it towards you to make it easier for you to see, it's a little bit harder on me, is I just find the edge or crease, and if you saw, I just kind of lifted and pulled, and I use my thumbs on the back to just kind of pull out a little bit, and it just starts coming right off. Now I start where the ports are, because that's probably where I'm going to get hung up the most. So that's either the first place I start or the last, and it depends on the system and how the clamshell goes on. So now that I've started, I can go ahead and close it up. You can see I'm just so now that I've got it started, I just come along the edge where I've already got it going and pull. Now I've opened this before, so I actually didn't need my spudger too much, but I'll show you here, it's not coming undone on this front edge very easily. So I just take the spudger, in this case a debit card, I go where there's already a gap, and I just run it through, and it just does the work for me, and I just run along. Again, very carefully and very slowly, because we're not trying to force it, we're just trying to get it to pop off. All right. And double check if you ever get to the point where it's like being extra stubborn, just make sure you did actually get all the screws out, because there's been a number of times where I've actually found that, oh, I did actually miss a screw somewhere. It's coming stubborn here, so I'll just take the card again and just run along that edge, and off it came. There we go. And now what I'm doing is I'm actually downgrading the system. So I'd upgraded the RAM to 12 gigs. So here's the original 4 gig, and here's an 8 gig that I just had laying around. I want to use it for another project, so out it comes. And this is an NVMe SSD. It's a Sabrent Rocket 256 gig drive. So we're just taking that out. And we are putting the SATA drive back in. So this is a SATA drive. It is not a NVMe drive. It is 128 gigs. And it helps if the screwdriver you're using is a little magnetic, and this one is not. Should grab my other one that was. All right. You don't need it to be like a super magnet, but if it just has a little bit of magnetism to it, it makes it a little bit easier because then the screws stick to it. All right. And then we can take the cover and go ahead, and I always kind of try to take a look and make sure that the clips are kind of going back on. See if there's any that have a lip that kind of grab on, because a lot of them, especially like along the front edge, they'll want you to kind of grip it and then fold it down, or along the back edge and do the same thing where it actually goes on like this and then folds down. Or, now these ports weren't hard to get around, but sometimes the ports stick through the plastic and you have to kind of clip around the plastic and then clap it down. This one's fairly simple and straightforward. It just goes on. Let's just start snapping it. Now, you will break some of the clips. The trick is to not break too many of them. It's just inevitable. Again, it's plastic. So we just want to make sure it's all snapped down before we screw it. Now I like to open it and just, again, go around that edge. Just make sure everything clipped into place. Put the screws back in. Just make sure I'm putting back in the order that I removed them in. Don't over tighten them. You want to make sure they're just snug and not too tight, because you will either strip out the screw or break the plastic that is holding the nutsert in, which then you'll either have a case that doesn't fully close, or you'll never be able to open it again properly. So again, just finger tight on these. Don't want to strip out that screw or break the nutsert, is what I believe what they're called, or nut insert. Now I leave the feet off for a minute, just make sure everything is good to go. Flip it over, hit the power button. This is charged, so it should come right on. Yep, there we go. That's one problem I have with this laptop, is I'm not a huge fan of its power button. Let's see. And it has the HP logo. It is booting up. Now it'll take a minute because we did change the RAM and the storage. It'll probably have an error message on here. It usually does after a change like that. But we're good to go. Anyways, that's a fairly quick video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts or questions, leave those in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to answer. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.